The Republicans are eager to blow up the global economy. So yes, the debt ceiling fighting is a boring, pointless political ritual. But the risk this time is going to be off the charts, basically. Now we barely had time to catch our breath from the wild spectacle of the Republicans finally electing a not qualified speaker when their next spectacle started with a bang. Now, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen had abruptly announced that the U.S. Had hit the so-called debt ceiling on January 19th, putting the issue immediately on the front burner. Now, the government can move money around to keep paying its bills until sometime next summer, um, but this is already shaping up to be an exhausted months-long battle royale. Now, it's probably a good thing that they're getting an early start since the maggot House majority seems to need some serious remedial instruction on how this world works. That's not to say that the debt ceiling standoffs are some core tactic of the maggot movement, but in fact, the Republicans raised the debt ceiling three times. Yeah, so during the three times that so during the time that Trump was squatting in the White House, the Republicans had raised the debt ceiling three times, and they never felt it necessary to try to persuade Trump to cut spending. And the Freedom Caucus didn't utter a peep as he massively increased the deficit. Now, these House situations are reversed for times when the GOP holds the House and a Democrat is in the White House and shocking, I fucking know. This debt ceiling vote is a ritual with no purpose. The government made the decision during World War I for reasons that should have been temporary to require a vote to agree to pay the nation's bills. Now, this makes no fucking sense whatsoever because Congress already voted to spend the money, so it's ridiculous to require another vote to pay it out. In fact, after the Civil War, the drafters of the 14th Amendment, and basically they're concerned that the Southern Democrats, pretty much the maggot types of that day and age, would make good on their threat to disavow the national debt incurred during the war, and they explicitly wrote into the Constitution the words, the validity of the public debt to the United States should not be questioned. Now, there were some brief confrontations in earlier years, but it was really the Republican House Speaker Newt Gingrich who's old as dirt had pioneered this modern right-wing terrorist strategy, and it was perfected by the Tea Party members during the Obama administration. The Tea Party standoffs back in 2011 and 2013 are still vivid in the minds of many in Washington who endured both the battles and the consequences, which were at once political and substantial. Those were among the ugliest fights in modern political memory, and it came distressingly close to crashing the world economy. Now, this new crew, most of whom were not round for those bruising confrontations, is champing at the bit to see if they can get that done this time. Now, not only are payments for necessary services like Social Security and Medicare to food safety, and even the sacred to Republicans border security at risk, as the Washington Post's Catherine Rambel explains, this could tip the entire global economy, already in a fragile state, over into crisis mode. And now, until now, the U.S. debt has been considered virtually risk-free. The riskiness of all other assets around the world is benchmarked against the relative safety of U.S. Treasury securities. If the U.S. government reveals itself to be an unreliable borrower, however, expect to see shockwaves course through every other financial market, as many question how safe or not those other investments might be. And this is the last thing the economy needs amid the fear of a global recession. The bottom line here is that this debate is fucking ridiculous. Now, unfortunately, the Republican Party is even more ridiculous these days, so we are destined to play chicken with the good faith and credit of the U.S. government every time these circumstances present themselves. It should be noted that all of this was evident when the Democrats still had the House majority, which was more than willing to raise was willing to raise the debt ceiling during December's lame duck session. Now, unfortunately, the Diva twins, meaning Kristen Sinema of Arizona and Joe Manchin of West Virginia, who are closet Republicans, refused to eliminate the filibuster or use the budget. They refused to eliminate the filibuster or to use the budget reconciliation process to get this done. Now, luckily, not all Democrats failed to grasp this moment. Now, Senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii had phrased things perfectly. channeling Michael Corleone in The Godfather Part 2, when asked what Democrats might be willing to offer Republicans. In exchange for not crashing the United States economy, you get nothing. Regarding demands that Democrats sit down with their opponents at the negotiating table, he replied, "We have to tell them that there is no fucking table, and you cannot negotiate with people who behave the way that these Republicans are behaving. They aren't just fucking delusional, but they're also massively fucking ignorant about what they're fucking attempting to do. Now take for example Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, who was just named to the House Oversight and Homeland Security Committees, who said this on Steve Bannon's podcast shortly after the November election. What we have to do is, and which meaning Republicans, when we're in control of the purse and we're sending these appropriation bills and our budget is, we have to refuse to raise the debt ceiling. We have to get spending back under control, and we have to do that by any means possible. Like, you give a shit about that. And if that means a government shutdown, then I'll be calling for a government shutdown, because this government, and you could see the support of what I'm saying, Steve. No, we don't support what you're saying, bitch. Now, that is literally gibberish, completely incomprehensible. And now that is literally gibberish, completely incomprehensible. Now, Representative Andy Biggs, a Republican from Arizona, also even made a dumber fucking comment. And this is what he had said in a tweet. "We cannot raise the debt ceiling. Democrats have carelessly spent our taxpayer money and devalued our currency." No, they didn't. And that doesn't fucking make sense either. But our fucking currency is not fucking devalued, and that's not going to, and that's got nothing to do with the fucking debt ceiling in any case either. Apparently, he does not. Andy Biggs doesn't even grasp that taking the debt ceiling hostage is about trying to force Democrats to agree to massive spending cuts in the future in exchange for paying the bills today. Evidently, he doesn't want to pay any of them at all. Now, here's some more fucking gibberish from the actual Speaker of the House when asked about Democrats' demands for a clean debt ceiling increase. Would you just keep doing that, or would you change the behavior? We're 6 months away, and why wouldn't we sit down and change this behavior so that we would put ourselves in a more fiscally strong position? Now, here's another idea that's always popular on the right, and which would be necessary if they really plan to eliminate the national debt completely, as McCarthy apparently promised in his backroom deals during the speakership saga. Now, holy shit, top Republican Rick Allen, who's a Republican from Georgia, was just recorded saying his party is going after Social Security because people want to work longer. Yeah, I doubt that. Now, Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio is at least a bit more coherent, but recognizing that Republicans may have stepped on the third rail here, with talk about cutting military spending, which one of the backroom negotiators, Representative Chip Roy of Texas, says was never on the table. Now, Jordan said military cuts could be made by eliminating woke policies and re-examining aid to Ukraine, allowing the government to focus more on troops and weapon systems. But there's also been talks about eliminating much of the officer corps, which would be an interesting experiment. Now, hilariously, Republicans are trying to spin the impending mess this way. Now, Representative Good, basically a Republican from Virginia, said, I hope President Biden and the Senate would not risk a government shutdown or some kind of a government default by recklessly rejecting spending cuts. Now, that's fucking cute, but it's not going to fucking fly. Republicans have already shown the whole country that they are wildly unhinged, and nobody will mistake which party is being reckless and which isn't. It's also clear that they don't give a fuck. But Donald Trump, their battered spiritual guru, explains what it's really all about on his fraud social website. Republicans can get almost everything back that the old broken crow Mitch McConnell and the real leader, the China-centric Coco Chow, simply gave up to the Democrats over the last 2 years by simply playing tough in the upcoming debt ceiling negotiations. With the right negotiators like all of those involved the other night on both sides. For Speaker, it will be a beautiful and joyous thing for the people of our country to watch. And he basically typed "Make America Hate Again." Excuse me. Basically, the Republicans are not gonna get you anything back anyway. Now, this is nothing more than then this is nothing more than about putting a spectacle, as nothing more than putting on a spectacle to own the Democrats, of course. But what the fuck else could it be? Now, Trump may have lost some of his mojo, but his legacy is secure. and the Republican Party is still maggots all the way down to its toes. So if you now if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find on the which you can find the link on the bottom of the video, or you can also find it on the About section of YouTube. And for just as little as a few bucks a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.